Yo, what's good, guys? We're back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys. And today, as promised, we are going over all of our tier list, updating them. Today is going to be infielders. Decided to start with infielders because it feels like it's always in the middle. So we'll start with infielders today, change it up a little bit. Got a good amount of new cards here to mention. So it has been a while. So if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, all that business. And let's go ahead and get started. So Gilbert goes in S tier. Not really vibing with him personally, but a lot of people really enjoy him. So, and statistically, you can't really argue with the fact that he is the best first baseman right now. Ellie, A tier, does a lot of great stuff. The best defensive shortstop, mashes righties. The problem is he can't touch a lefty. So little bit of a problem there. His clutch is also pretty low, so if you do play him on higher difficulties, but it kind of offsets because he's a switch hitter, so he doesn't get the shrinking PCI stuff as much. But it's still going to be pretty brutal at a certain point with him. Carson Kelly, probably just B tier. Him and Ivan Herrera, just insane budget catcher options. I think these two are like my favorite budget catchers at the moment. I think Will Smith and Contreras have become a little outdated. Specifically Herrera. I don't know why nobody talks about him. Just insane. Seager, still A tier. The defense is going to be suspect no matter where you play him. Shortstop, third base, second base. But the clutch is really good, and it's Corey Seager. And if he gets a righty, it's like a guaranteed home run. So he's still an absolute stud. Honestly, could make the argument for S tier with him. Glaber, I think probably top of A. Just insanely sweet swing on him. Hits the ball hard, has like a fake 65 power against righties. Like, I think most of the home runs I've seen hit with him and have hit with him have actually been against righties. So a little weird there. Vlad, A tier as well. Nothing wrong with the card. Feel like I say it kind of every time I talk about him. Not really my mold of first baseman I would prefer, but you know, he worked. Berger, insane budget option at first base. The contact against one side is pretty low, but the clutch kind of makes up for it. So if you're on a budget, you can make it with him for sure. Berkman, I'm also just gonna put in this B tier because value-wise, just not really great. He is in rewind packs now, so people panicked and his price came down a lot. He was like 80, 90K. So he's a little cheaper, but the position you play him at is first base as a switch hitter, which would be really valuable because there's not a ton of other guys that can play first base as a switch hitter. But we got free Tony Clark. That's arguably better than this card. And then Santander is on everybody's team. So just not really the best value there. Pendleton, B tier. You can make it work with Pendleton. He has a pretty good swing, some okay quirks, but he's just going to line out a lot. Volpe. I think without personally using them and knowing how great his swing is, putting him B tier. I want to put him C tier, but we'll just put him B for now. Shea Langeliers, C tier, just because he's not going to age as well as like Kelly and Herrera will, because his clutch is really bad, his contact's really bad. So going to be a great all-star card, not so much. Ohapi. I think I do prefer him over these two. I haven't like used him a ton so far because he just came out. But in the moment, I could not generate a lot of power with him. So he might be on fraud watch, but as of right now, he's like in that solid A tier range. JJ Weatherholt. I think I'm putting him A tier. I think this is probably one of the more underutilized cards of the year. I don't know if it was just like a difficult program or if a lot of people just used him at the start of the year and don't want to use him anymore. But I think his swing is so butter. Some people say he can't hit the ball hard. I've not had that issue with him. The unfortunate part for him is that Randy and John and a bunch of other lefties are out now. So he might just be chopped. Leo DeVry, also A tier. I mean, just 80 stats across the board. It's kind of like what you're getting with Ellie if he plays up against lefties. but then Ellie's also going to be better at defense. So very solid card here. Nothing wrong with it. You can see we're being pretty picky with our higher tiers. Basala, I think he goes in this like Herrera, Carson Kelly range where I personally wouldn't be running him anymore because this guy has kind of taken his niche and ran with it. If you just want a lefty catcher that mashes, Soderstrom is your guy. You're going to see Soderstrom on a lot of top end teams at this point. Christian Campbell. I think my personal experience, A tier. Honestly, I think this is the easiest year to ever make World Series. Because in the past, if you showed me this card and asked if it was a World Series caliber card, I'd say no, probably not because of the clutch. But honestly, one of the cards that hits the ball the hardest without having any quirks. It's crazy, hard to explain. But also, the clutch just doesn't matter that much unless you're finding somebody who has like 125 hits and is spamming away sliders. It's just not going to matter because Hall of Fame is or World Series games are only ever going to be on Hall of Fame. So unless you're like a legend player, I think Christian Campbell's good for you. I think he can easily be your second baseman or outfielder for a while. Marcelo, not as much. I've never been as high on him as a lot of people are, and now he's going to have to pay that lefty tax. At least, I feel like Weatherholt plays a really good shortstop. They're kind of similar. But I also don't want to just... Honestly, lefty tax. I can't lie. I can't lie. Lefty tax. Because you're just going to be seeing so many lefties now. Bazana, A tier. Same place he has been. He's still a very fine card. And he plays a position that doesn't have a ton of talent at. Willie Adames, C tier. He is a like platoon inverse splits shortstop who should play good defense but won't play that crazy of defense because he's not actually that fast. So that's just he's a weird card in a weird spot, and a lot of people usually don't enjoy his swing. Beltre, B tier. If you just want like a defensive third baseman that can contact hit, here's your guy. Have I ever seen him hit a home run? No. He has some of the worst power, and I feel like people don't like vibe with the swing that much, personally. Harper, A tier. I think he's like kind of the lefty Vlad Guerrero. He'll probably hit for a little more power than Vlad, but I feel like people that use him are kind of on a similar level to like that Vlad Guerrero. Lindor, I guess, goes wherever DeVry goes. I think DeVry's a little taller, so that'll help his defense, but Lindor gets like the best reaction, the diamond glove. I think both kind of have a weaker type of arm, whereas Lindor is like super weighted towards hitting lefties, has arguably the better swing as well. So I think there's drawbacks to both of them to where they aren't S tier, but I think they're both very good cards. Joey Bats, if you play him at first, I think it's pretty good value. If you play him at third, he'll probably make some errors for you. But the bat is really good. He has a lot of good quirks. And the swing is inoffensive. I wouldn't call it great, but you can't really hate it. Speaking of swings that are hated, Mark McGwire. I think I just have to put him at A tier just off principle. I think I've queued up probably 40, 50 ranked games at this point, which some of you guys will say that's not a lot. Some of you will say that it's way more than what you play. So, I think I'm in a good range there, and I've seen Mark McGwire like twice. People just don't use him. They know he has a bad swing. Statistically, yeah, one of the better first basemen, but they know he has a bad swing. So if you can make it work, he's probably A tier, maybe even S tier for you. But for most people, it seems like he is not. Stan, B tier. He's going to be here just on kind of lefty tax and the fact that if I wanted a lefty first baseman, where's he at? Let's go ahead and rank him. I would be using Ortiz personally over him. So unless you're like a speed freak, then I would suggest Ortiz over him for sure. Mookie, S tier. Not S tier for me. I can't hit a lick with him, but for most people, he is really good. I think his best spot is second base because he's going to be terrible defensively no matter where you play him. But has some of the highest clutch in the game. That's why you see him in every GOAT lineup. So absolute stud. Marte, I think I have to put him A tier. I'm a little biased just because I have him super fractured, and sometimes I run the Martinez boost. So to me, he looks a lot better than what he'll look like to most of y'all. If you put some parallels on him, he probably is S tier. Plays the best, I think, defensive second base in the game, and plays a very good defensive shortstop. But that doesn't make up for the fact that he cannot hit a righty at the moment. You're looking at like 72, 80, and I think that's with like maxed out parallels. So until he starts playing again and getting inside edges, I think he's just A tier. If you want to still make the argument for S tier, trust me, I would. But it is kind of hard to do now. Bregman, A tier. He is like my go-to next tier third baseman. If I can't have like any of the guys in S tier, Bregman's my go-to. Like, we saw it on the budget account. I love that Bregman card. He was a absolute stud. Tommy Two Bags, B tier. I mean, he's cool. He's a solid switch hitter that only really mashes against one side. Doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world. But it's a fine card. He's okay. Jordan Lawler, think he goes B tier. I was sleeping on this card. His hitting stats are very mediocre. It's like 75 everything. But he has 99 speed, and he has a very nice swing, and he plays a pretty good defensive shortstop. So he is actually a pretty good budget card. He's not like A tier or anything, and like I think there's still way better guys for you to use over him. But I was sleeping on him a little bit there. So Jordan Westburg, I'm gonna put him in B. I think I haven't really vibed with the swing, and he's just not great against righties, I want to say. I know it's one side he does not hit super well. Lefties. Okay, so it's lefties. Righties, he's actually pretty solid against. So maybe you could make the argument for like inverse splits, but I just don't like his swing that much. So I don't really want my best side to be getting jammed because I don't like his swing. So I think he's just B tier. He's fine. Larry Doby. Honestly, where's Bazana? I put Bazana in A. I think Doby makes S. He has second base, and he should absolutely mash at second base. Has some really good quirks, some really good stats there for you guys who haven't really seen him, because he's like a collection. He's a stepping stone kind of collection card for like the John collection. Dead red, breaking ball, unfazed. He's got 81, 97, 70, 86, 90. Now, the downside is he's a lefty, and we just started getting insane lefty starters. So if you want to knock him for that, cool. I'm like a fan of when there's a couple lefty starters, still having a couple of lefties in your lineup. So if you want to make one of them Larry Doby at second base, I will not argue with you there. TC, Tony Clark. Yeah, I mean, I think just being a switch hitter puts him here. I do need to check his clutch. I'm not super well versed with that card. So I do kind of need to check his clutch, because I know his gold has a really bad clutch. But as long as this one has like 80, 75, yeah, so 85. So yeah, he's good. Really tall is the one caveat, but he's also a switch hitter, so shouldn't really bother you too much. Rizzo, I think he's like top of B. I'd rather have Bryce Harper. I view him as kind of similar, but also I'd just way rather have Bryce Harper. Rizzo always has a really good swing. The downside is I think he's still a free agent, or he might just be super washed on the Yankees and not play anymore. But either way, his live series has like no quirks now. So that means that this card has no quirks. If he had some quirks, I think he would be pretty equal to Bryce. But without any, I think gotta be a little harsh on him. Jackie, I think, makes an A tier just off the defense. He's a primary shortstop, actually. So you're looking at a shortstop that has like 100 contact, 50 power, and really good defense. So the only thing lacking is the power. And if you hit a perfect with this quirk, he'll probably still be all right. Has a really good swing. So I think A tier could be generous by my traditional rankings. But I do enjoy the card. This card, top of B tier. Statistically, he's up there with like Glaber for being pretty good. But I don't like his swing. I was doing his moment. Nah, just not for me. Not. I would be shocked to see a bunch of people running this card online. Just not the best swing in the world. J-Ram, S tier. You kind of need to find him on a day where he's playing up against righties. Because he is basically Lindor, except plays a position that there's not as much competition at. So, arguably has one of the best swings in the game still. Has some really good quirks as well. But you kind of need to find him on a day where he's playing up against righties. Jazz, top of B, he's cool. I think it's a little underwhelming for everything that you have to do to get the card. But he's cool. He's fine. I think I'd rather probably run Christian Campbell over him. I'd rather run Lindor at second. Bazana's a conversation, so maybe I drop Bazana. Yeah, I'll drop Bazana just because of Jazz. Because I don't feel like Jazz is like A tier at second base. I'd rather run Marte, Glaber, Christian Campbell, even Seager at second, Lindor at second, Jackie. Jackie's a conversation, but he's here because he's a shortstop. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. Dan's boy, top of B. Very nice contact. Where's Volpe at? Okay, so Volpe gets downgraded because I think Volpe is just worse Dansby. Really good defense. Suspect arm. So if he gets locked into a bad animation and it's a fast base runner, he's cooked. He's not throwing him out. But has really good reaction, really good fielding, and really good contact against lefties, and then serviceable power. So he gives you a lot of stuff. Maybe you could make some type of argument to where I guess he's kind of similar to like Jackie. So I'll leave him in A tier. We won't be too harsh. McMahon, easy S tier. Kind of like the Doby argument, honestly. Where if you want him to be like one of your 3 lefties in the lineup, cool. I think he's a really good option for it. It's a weak position at third base. Or if you want to run this card at second base and just kind of have that like Nolan Gorman archetype, he can do that for you. J-Raw, I'm a little biased here. I'm not as high on this card as everybody else. I think he's good. I think he's one of the better options. But I think I already kind of have my S tier shortstop in mind, and it's not him. So if you want to make the argument because he's a switch hitter and you're on like Legend or GOAT and you don't want to deal with people spamming you with away sliders, I get that. But if you're on like Hall of Fame All-Star, I think he's kind of overkill almost, and he's just not going to have the power that I'm really looking for, or the defense, because he's not that fast. And he's a smaller player, so he's actually not going to play the craziest shortstop defense that you've ever seen. Okay, so right on cue, our S tier shortstop, Carlos Correa, for me, has one of the better righty swings every single year, and gives me everything I want. Like out of that Cal Ripken archetype, if we're not going to get like a 99 Ellie De La Cruz or something, this is what I want my shortstop to do. I want him to have a cannon. I want him to have great reaction, be kind of tall, and hit at the plate. And this card does that. He has like that Glaber power where it's like 65, which seems to be about the threshold to where if you put a good swing, it can still kind of go. So I think he pretty much checks all my boxes, and he hits very good against lefties, which you're going to see a lot of soon. So this card sucks. Even his clutch is bad. So like, even if you get on higher difficulty and you just want a defensive shortstop that can poke it over the infield, he's only going to be able to do that when there's not runners on. And then let's not even talk about like the 35 power he has against lefties, I think, which is mostly what you're going to be seeing. So just not really a great logic to be running that card. With B tier, with a caveat, if you're on GOAT, he's probably pretty good because of the high vision, the defense, and the contact. But for your average player, I feel like you're just hurting yourself if you're running this card. unless you're such low rank that you can just like abuse stolen bases, which is not hard to do this year, because it's very easy to steal. Richie, I view him as kind of similar to Tony Clark, but if I'm gonna run like a right-handed power first baseman, I'd probably just run Mark McGwire. So I think that knocks him down to B tier just because of the competition in that tier. But he is still really good. So if you want to contact first baseman, I think Vlad's better. If you want power, I think you could have an argument for Richie. I'd rather go Mark McGwire. The Bambino, I think he sticks around A tier just because of the swing and the decent quirks. He doesn't have all the quirks he usually has, but I think he just sticks around that A tier. Will be Witt, top of B tier, which sucks for a card that's like 180k right now. He just can't hit a ball hard, honestly. I don't think I've seen Bobby Witt hit one ball hard. When I see him get hits, it's either like pokes straight up the middle that barely get out the infield, or it just finds a gap in the infield. I don't see him hitting a bunch of triples because he doesn't really find the gaps in the outfield, and I just don't see him hitting home runs. And I've seen him make errors at shortstop, so that just kind of goes to show that everybody can. But I haven't seen Ellie make a lot of errors, so think if you're asking me who I'd rather run, I would actually rather run Ellie than Bobby Witt. To a degree. I guess once you get on like GOAT, maybe Bobby Witt's better. But even then, you got to deal with like running away sliders and stuff. So controversial take here. I think Chipper is A tier. Everybody loves to say how bad this card is. It's still Chipper Jones. It's still a switch hitter. And the clutch, like I said, doesn't really matter for a very good player. The clutch won't matter for until they get to like legend. So I think that's my controversial opinion on this Chipper. I think it depends on what swing they gave him to, because Chipper traditionally gets different swings throughout the years. I haven't really done my homework on what he has here. First pitch, dead red, breaking ball. So the quirks are going to make him play better. And you're looking at 72-70 against righties, which is serviceable. And he's going to absolutely mash lefties, which is most of what you're going to be seeing at this point. So I think he's A tier. I think he's pretty solid. I would love to have him on the budget account. I don't think he starts for me on the main, but maybe as like a bench bat. But even then, the clutch is so bad. But I think that's kind of my most controversial take, is that Chipper's still going to be a good card. It is a shame that we didn't get a great Chipper, but I think he'll still be pretty good. There you go. B tier. Just statistically, nothing crazy. If you're using them, it's for the swing. If you want that like Jimmy Fox hand load out of variety, he's one of your only options now. I think he'd be a really good all-star card, but he's the World Series reward. So probably has more use as a pitcher, but I gotta acknowledge that he can play like catcher, or maybe he'll have some value at second base. Josh Gibson, is there any catch? Yeah, I think he's similar to like O'Hoppe. He wouldn't be my first pick at catcher, but like I said, it's super usable. If, in theory, if somebody's pitching like Kirby Yates against them on Hall of Fame and spamming away sliders, you might have some not so fun at bats. But he's got like 70 contact each side, about the same clutch, and then, close to like 100 power. The problem is he's going to blow your eardrums out every time you make even remotely decent contact. And he's just not that crazy of a card. But again, I think it's a solid card. It's nothing crazy, but I think it's solid. Headley, S tier, the best defensive third baseman in the game. However much weight you want to put on that, but also a switch hitter. So I like him over J-Ram. I see people go back and forth. These are pretty much unanimously the best two third basemen, and now we've kind of got Ryan McMahon entering that mix. And Polanco. Polanco can play third base, so that's another solution for you. I think his best position probably will be second, but in theory, he can play third and at least be replacement level there defensively and pretty good offensively. So I think that's a card where if you put some parallels on him, he's going to get really good. Santander, S tier. I legit run him over Gil Hodges on my main account. Some of that is a skill issue with Gil, just not finding it. And then some of it is Gil gets spammed with away sliders on Legend and GOAT constantly. And even if you put a really good swing on him, if it's not perfect, it's not going. You don't have to worry about that with Santander. I feel like his contact and clutch is serviceable enough to where it doesn't matter on those difficulties. And on like All-Star Hall of Fame, he's him. He's honestly one of the best cards in the game. Utley just has to make S tier. He's actually a better Larry Doby, so I think we'll kick Doby down. If you just want like that power hitting lefty second baseman, he's one of your better options right now. Always has a really good swing, and I love when they came out with this card because there's not a ton of great second basemen, so I feel like he can fit in the meta. And then you look at the fact that they just dropped Randy and John, and we already have a really good Al Leiter card. And then the reality starts to set in of this is going to be another year where Utley has some really good cards and is just kind of a victim of the meta, and there's just not really a great time to play him at second base. Devers, top of A tier. I would not use him over even probably Ryan McMahon. I think they're similar. I think McMahon's probably S tier because you can run him as a second baseman or a third baseman. I think at third, I'd still rather have Jose. I'd still rather have Headley and not deal with the away sliders, but that's just me personally. And then Kipnis, we will use our compare tool, which you still have to open a new tab for, by the way. So it's not like I was really tweaking by doing a new tab. But we'll do Kipnis and Chase Utley because I feel like they're decently close. So you can see that Showzone has all their stats. So Utley, better contact hitter by a little bit, better power hitter by a good amount, lower vision, whatever, discipline, clutch is about the same. Fielding goes to Utley. Kinda. His reaction's worse. Speed. So they're pretty comparable. Utley hits for slightly better power and on aggregate slightly better contact, but it just kind of depends on what side you're against. So I think they're so similar that I'll probably just put them both S tier. If you want to run a lefty second baseman, you got two really good options here. If you got the AL Central done, you got Kipnis, or if you just want to buy the chase back, now you have Utley as an alternative. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully this tier list saves properly. They have not been doing that. Okay, so should be good. So tier list will be in the description. If you guys enjoyed the content, like and subscribe, all that business. Till next time, peace.